Mega US naval buildup in southern Caribbean. Donald Trump is boosting maritime force near Venezuela.
Venezuela's president has a warning for the United States.
Hoy estamos más fuerte que ayer.
Caracas at night looks like a bowl of stars poured over a mountainside. But tonight, those lights feel like eyes, watching the Caribbean, waiting. President Nicolas Maduro says the country is at maximum preparedness, warning that any strike will be met with a national mobilization. Meanwhile, the United States has surged warships into the southern Caribbean under an enhanced counter-narcotics banner, the biggest show of force in the region in decades. Washington insists it's about cartels. Caracas hears drumbeats. Either way, tension travels faster than sound. Let's set the chessboard. Since Venezuela's disputed July 2024 election and the crackdown that followed,
Tensions are rising in Venezuela tonight. People taking to the streets in protest of the election results.
relations with Washington bottomed out. US sanctions never really went away. They flex and snap back depending on Caracas's behavior, and 2025 hasn't exactly been a trust-building year. US Southern Command's posture statement describes Maduro's regime as involved in narco-trafficking and corruption, fueling a humanitarian collapse that's pushed more than 7.7 million Venezuelans to leave. It also warns that saber-rattling over Guyana's Essequibo region could escalate. In other words, brittle politics, hard borders, and a very crowded chessboard. So what does ready for a US attack even mean in 2025? Start with the air defense picture. Venezuela spent big during the Chavez years, importing Russian gear to build a layered umbrella. On paper, the crown jewel is the S-300VM Anti-2500, a mobile system designed to swat aircraft, cruise missiles, and even some ballistic threats. It gives Caracas a long-range bite, far from infallible, but enough to force US planners to respect the bubble and fly smarter. Underneath that sit mid-tier Buckham 2E batteries and older Pechora 2M upgrades, plus lots of shoulder-fired Igla-S missiles. This is not an iron dome, it's more like a jagged hedge, pokey, uneven, but painful to blunder through. The tip of Venezuela's offensive spear remains its Russian-built Su-30 Mk2 fighters. They're aging, but still the region's heavyweight, with long legs over the Caribbean and a weapons menu that keeps adversaries cautious. They won't dominate the skies against US carriers and stealth, but they can complicate a raid, punch at tankers and ISR, and make tomahawks more expensive. Think of them like bouncers at a club. Maybe not unbeatable, but you'll feel it if you try to rush the door. Down on the deck, the Army's muscle is Russian-flavored too. T-72B1 tanks, BMP-3S, BTR-80S, and 152mm MSTAS self-propelled guns. Add legacy grads and heavier rocket artillery, and you've got enough steel for set-piece defense, especially in canalized terrain and urban belts around key nodes, ports, bridges, the oil lifelines. It's not a blitzkrieg force, it's a porcupine with artillery. Then there's the drone layer, Venezuela's quiet revolution. Caracas has leaned into Iranian-influenced designs, from reconnaissance UAVs to strike-capable platforms, building out domestic variants and supply lines that are cheaper to sustain under sanctions. Individually, these drones aren't wonder weapons. In swarms, guided by local radars and spotters, they can harass ships, blind sensors, and nibble at exposed logistics. If you're picturing a cloud of angry wasps around a very expensive helicopter, yep, that's the idea. All of this plugs into a doctrine the government loves to repeat: unión, cívico-militar, the fusion of army, police, and civilians. Maduro now claims over 4.5 million militia members ready to defend the homeland. Independent tallies are far lower, hundreds of thousands, not millions. But the political point lands. If Washington comes, Chavismo wants the world to see a nation in arms, not just a palace with guards. Caracas has been staging Escudo Bolivariano 2025 exercises to make that picture vivid on TV and TikTok. If war is theater, the opening act has good lighting. Here's the catch: militias are not magic. They can stiffen rear area security, man checkpoints, and act as eyes and ears. Against professional Marines and precision strikes, they're speed bumps. But in urban terrain, think Cadilla's warrens or refineries along the coast, speed bumps stacked cleverly become a maze. That slows an opponent, raises political costs, and buys time for the regulars and air defenses to do their grim math. And yes, even the best assault plan trips when the last mile of your supply convoy runs into a barricade of burning tires and a swarm of FPV drones piloted by angry neighbors. Ask any logistics officer, they have nightmares about cul-de-sacs. Zoom back out to the waterline. U.S. Navy ships, Aegis destroyers, at least one cruiser, and an amphibious assault ship are patrolling the Caribbean. Officially, the mission targets cartels. Unofficially, it signals that the White House is willing to apply hard pressure. In response, Venezuela surged 15,000 troops toward key borders and announced naval deployments of its own. Both sides are flexing. Neither wants a misfire. History, however, loves accidents. One more modern twist: the criminal battlefield. Washington formally designated Venezuela's sprawling gang Tren de Aragua a foreign terrorist organization this year, tightening legal and financial screws as it frames the region's insecurity through a counter-terror lens. That shifts the narrative around force, what counts as self-defense, what counts as sanctuary, and what types of targets become fair game. When legal language hardens, military options multiply. And hovering over everything, the Essequibo dispute with Guyana. In 2024, it nearly bled from referendum rhetoric into troop movements. The U.S. warned of severe consequences if Caracas crossed the line, and the region snapped to attention.
The Essequibo region of Guyana has suddenly become the focus of international attention. It is a region about 2/3 the size of the country.
Today's naval standoff revives that muscle memory. When oil, borders, and great power politics mix, the Caribbean turns choppy fast. Bring seasickness pills. Cut the music. Let's talk scenarios. If shots are fired, a U.S. playbook would likely start with standoff strikes, electronic warfare, and maritime interdiction. Think turn the lights out before kick the door in. Venezuela's counter would be to preserve its air defenses, hide its aircraft, disperse command, and rack up political capital by showing mass mobilization. If even a single U.S. asset took a bloody nose, say a drone downed on camera inside Venezuelan airspace, that clip would loop across the hemisphere. Hearts and minds aren't won with PDFs. They're won with viral videos. Painful for us scriptwriters, whose own videos rarely go viral unless a cat walks into frame. How long can Caracas sustain this level of readiness? Sanctions have starved the economy for years. Spare parts are a scavenger hunt. CIPRI won't even estimate defense spending anymore because the official numbers are so foggy. That forces a hedgehog strategy. Protect what matters. Air defenses, a few fighter squadrons, key refineries, coastal radar, and accept rust elsewhere. In short, fewer toys, more traps. Still, don't underestimate the home field advantage. Geography is a defender's ally. Mountains framing Caracas, jungle that eats road columns, river crossings that turn into choke points. The US can bypass some of that with sea and air, sure, but any operation that touches ground gets swallowed by terrain and traffic alike. In Caracas, the only thing faster than rumors are motorbikes. You can move a message across the city faster than you can move a tank. If you've ever tried to drive the Francisco Fajardo at rush hour, you know invasion planners should budget extra time, like days. And then there's oil. Knock out a refinery or a port by accident or on purpose, and energy markets twitch. Maduro knows this, and Washington knows Maduro knows it. That mutual awareness restrains escalation, even when the tweets are spicy. The Financial Times put it bluntly: is this about drugs or regime change? The ambiguity is the point. It keeps Caracas guessing while buying Washington options short of war. We also can't ignore the gray zone. Venezuela's drone fleet, militias, and security services give it tools to harass without overtly crossing red lines. Expect electronic jamming, GPS spoofing, and little maritime mysteries in crowded shipping lanes. Expect the information war to be relentless. Images of packed militia signups, photogenic drills, and tear-jerking interviews with families prepping emergency kits. Not all of it will be true. Enough of it will be sticky. But gray goes both ways. U.S. designations and seizures squeeze Caracas's financial arteries. Partners in the region share radar feeds, port access, and, crucially, narratives. Southcom has been practicing the multilateral muscle memory exercises like Panamax and Unitas to make sure that if the balloon goes up, phone calls don't get dropped. If you're looking for readiness, it's not just ships and missiles, it's WhatsApp groups between admirals. So is Venezuela ready for a U.S. attack? Ready to deter? Maybe. Ready to bleed an attacker? Absolutely. Ready to win a sustained war against the US military? No. The strategy is to make intervention look ugly, expensive, and politically radioactive. To turn every refinery into a fortress, every barrio into a grid of eyes, and every night sky into a UAV flight plan. In the modern playbook, survival is victory. 3 final truths. First, accidents are more dangerous than plans. A collision at sea, a misread radar track, a hotshot pilot, these are the sparks history uses. Second, politics at home defines strategy abroad. This standoff is as much about Washington's domestic debate and Caracas's grip on power as it is about drugs and destroyers. Third, jokes keep us sane. So yes, Venezuela is ready. The troops are drilling, the radars are humming, and someone has definitely printed 300,000 armbands. But if war starts, the first thing both sides will ask for is a working logistics spreadsheet, and those are always the real miracle weapons. Venezuela's best move now is the same as Washington's. Signal strength, keep channels open, and step back from the ledge. Because for all the cinematic talk about invasions, the most powerful thing in the Caribbean tonight isn't a missile, it's restraint. And if you're looking for a cliffhanger, sorry, the smartest ending here is no ending at all.